I'm Margaret in Windsor, and my phone's about to be cut off. I can't get to get it refilled, so it's going to be cut off for a few days. And I wanted to put this up. I've put up about having to live out, and I'm run using chemicals. I have an immune disorder. I'm allergic to chemicals, and over time, it really has taken a toll on me, and it's illegal as hell to do it to me. But I've put all this up. I wrote a book in 1978, thinking that was the reason that things had gotten even worse for me. But then I found out in 83 when I was flown out to Larry Flint's, he was shot in Lawrenceville, Georgia, while I was doing the medical malpractice book about mind control and programming a person to shoot or kill or cure illnesses or create them and even make limbs grow back. It's the Tesla files that were stolen in 30. But anyway, I found out about my kidnapping and my real name. And after I was out at Flint's in 83, because he was shot by a program shooter, and he helped me in that campaign to replace Larry McDonald, Dr. Congressman. And by the way, I'd written about him. But I was brought over in 41, and I'm getting to a point here because if, I'm wondering if I'm going to live or really. But I want to put this up one more time, and then I'm going to get to my point. This is my Uncle George that's illegal monarch. Roosevelt sent Joe Kennedy as ambassador to England, 36 till they kicked him out in 46. JFK, his son, helped kidnap me. I was born in 39, and this is when this picture was taken. And my uncle and Roosevelt were planning my kidnapping. Rothschilds, Rockefellers, Bilderbergers, the global government that came into power, and they took my father, Edward VIII, down with character assassination. My dad would not follow the Illuminati's or Freemasons, the Illuminati, they're really the same thing, orders. And they took him out, quite frankly, and then they kidnapped me in 1941, brought me to Moulton, Alabama, a pigsty farm, and believe me, they didn't look like this. This is me, about 1943. And this is Lina. She had twins out of wedlock, Carl and Peggy, and she killed them both. And Peggy, they killed about a week before I came there. Carl was killed right after birth. But anyway, it was planned. They killed her and they put me there. And I wanted to put this up. I'm just going to show this about Larry Flint. He endorsed me April of 84 again, and he says here, I was at his home twice in October 83 in the campaign, that Larry McDonald was part of his shooting, and I knew it. I wanted to put this up, if I can here and get it up. I did not know it. I'd worked for doctors. There was a lot of horrific crimes and torture done to me and my sons, Mark and Scott. They're heirs after me. They took my father out. My father was married to Claudia Ruth O'Keefe, sister to artist Georgia O'Keefe. My mom was a school teacher, and my father would not allow the Windsors. I don't want to lump them all in one, but George the Sixth, who became a legal monarch, Elizabeth's father, so they're all illegal lineage. I'm Victoria II, heir to the British Crown the day I was born, and so they had to kidnap me. There was an addendum to the forced abdication, and by the way, my dad was always married to my mom. They made the whole thing up, and Winston Churchill got in on it, and he was friends with Eisenhower. All your presidents and your Secretary of States have known about my kidnapping, about my dad, and about what the United States did with illegal treaties, getting George VI illegal and Elizabeth to go along with it. They installed their own monarch and took my dad out because he wouldn't go along with them. He remained faithful to Great Britain, and he lost his child, me. He went through hell. They took his name. My mom and dad were still alive in 1986 and married. So the Wallace Simpson, she married a double imposter, became the Duke and Duchess of Windsor, and my uncle became illegal monarch in 37, the same year that Wallace married the double. My father abdicated in 36, December. He was married to my mom, and she's Queen of England. And Winston Churchill burned the files on my birth, on my mom and dad. And, you tell me how people are so rotten they can do this. Roosevelt's Jew, Rockefeller's, well, the global government that's in power now, your one world order that kidnapped me, are sitting right up there, the headquarters in New York City, the UN. So I wanted to get this up though first. And this is about all I can do because I have really been just about taken out. I have been run with chemicals. I have an immune disorder, autoimmune disorder. When I'm around toxic fumes in a close place, like if where I'm living, if I can't get somebody to do something about it or stop it, because has been deliberately done. And when I try to leave Roanoke, I'm run back here with the same method and kept penniless, homeless. And I am going to go to. I just had to go up because they did it to me, and I ran out of money, so I went up to camp at North Creek Campground. I guess on the 19th of last month for 2 weeks because I couldn't pay rent here, and I could pay the fee up there, and they had water and toilets up there. So I went up and had to pay a cab, and I got there, and I had to buy a new tent. The other one had been destroyed where I'd lived a couple of months ago. Well, yeah. And but I want to say this first. I have done nothing but tell the truth in this. It's just a portion of the hell and laws that have been broken against me and my sons. I don't even know if they're alive or dead. Mark and Scott, they're heirs after me, because my father had an addendum to the forced abdication, and it was legal, saying if he had an heir, the heir would inherit, and I did, and it's legal, and therefore then they'd taken my father out, but then they had to kidnap me to get rid of him again, and they got me from Buckingham Palace. My father had moved back in when I was born, because I'm the legal heir. And Elizabeth and her illegal father and mother lived there. She knows very well she was 15 years old when I was kidnapped at 2 years old. She remembers my mother and all this being a lie about my father, and she's illegal. But what I wanted to say was, things have been done to me, and it's kind of like a joke to everybody, and they're afraid of some of it. If they get involved, they're afraid something's going to happen to them. But this is a marshal that used to come out on the Appalachian Trail there when I was living up there, starving and freezing, and I liked him, and I suppose in a way he helped me, and they maybe have kept me alive, even though it's been horrible life. But when I did get a few funds, I couldn't get a job. I was shut down, food and everything. But there's a sporting good down in Daleville. It's close to the trail in Trouttville, where I would go up on the trail and stay at the hiker's shelter, and they'd run me. And did the trail, some of it, and had hard times. I really lived a rough life up there. And he would, the thing was, though, that he did, was when I started getting a little bit of money coming in, I'm supposed to have money from my husband dying, and I never got that, a life insurance policy. But anyway, I wanted to just focus on this. I would go and buy a tent, and I don't have a car, so I'd have to pay cab, so it gets my money. I don't have any left, after a few times a cab and paying, and I couldn't get a place to stay. They'd run me with fumes. And it makes me look like a fool or a nutcase running around when everybody knows what's going on. And Anyway, the marshal, Robert, who I liked, if he sees this, I haven't seen him in a long time, but he would have them out at outdoor trails, and the guy's name that owned it then was Mark. Any of these people that I have, it happened. They need to be put up in court under oath, all of them, and then you get to see the mess. But I'd buy a new tent and they would put it up and put sealants on it, which are just deadly to me. In other words, spray it. And I don't know over the years how many times I tried to leave, how many times I paid for a month at a motel or at low income. Scott Hill over in Clifton Forge. I had to go over there trying to get a retirement place to stay. I stayed there not long till they run me off, but you know what they got when I left? All new air conditioning they'd been trying to get for years and years. It was because it was in payment for me staying there for the couple of months I stayed, and then I was run off. So it's been a life of hell. But anyway, I don't know how many tents that I bought and walked up and down in my back and walked miles to get water and try to live and hardly any food and watch other people get homes built for them here in Roanoke. Nobody would help. I'd buy the tent and go back, and it would either be soaked. Some of the volunteers on the trail would come and soak me with fumes. It's horrible. If they ever made a film of this, I hope to God somehow they did, to show what was done to me. I can hardly walk or anything anymore. But I wanted to get to this. I must have over the years had to buy 30 tents. I'd try to get a place to stay, and it looks bad for me unless you get it up in court and make people tell the truth. They can keep on saying, "Oh well." And anyway, I want to say this. I had to go back and get another tent, and I went down to, I'm going to go ahead and say their name, Dick's Sporting here in Roanoke, and I took it out there and put it up, and I realized when I got up, I went into orbit. I'm going to have to try to get this up. I went into what they call, it's vertigo. It was horrible. I had been to the emergency room once about 2 months ago because of getting a certain fume that does this to me. And that's exactly what was used on me there, where I was living. But anyway, I have never, very seldom get vertigo, and then it's only light, but it's from fumes. But this was so bad I had to go to the emergency room. It was really bad. But then I buy this and tent. I get out there and I put it up. And I'm old. They've beat me up. I'm 78 years old. I can hardly get around anymore. They've made me fall. They've made me break bones. I mean, it's a hideous mess. But I got out there and I realized when I put it up that the tent had been sprayed inside. And I actually got so sick I couldn't be near it. And I took an old tent that I'd had that I really was no good. But thank goodness I carried it with me and didn't throw it away, because that's what I slept in the last 2 weeks. Now then, before this goes off, I went into, I don't know what you call it, because I had vertigo, and it was from that tent that they had sprayed just like they did at Daleville at Outdoor Trail years ago. I don't know how many tents they sold me. I paid for them. They soaked it with sealants, and they put it up and spray it and put it back in and sell it to me. And that's exactly what they did down at Dick's. And I ended up, I couldn't even stand it to be on the little campsite there. I had to put it in the dumpster. And I remember I started just screaming and hyperventilating. And whatever that smell was, it's one that really, vertigo and everything. I was a mess for a while there. Nobody came to help me. I wanted to say this. I put up recently about, my finger was cut off when I was little. And I've shown it. I'm going to show it again. It's that finger, and I didn't remember it until don't have time on here to get into it again. I put it up on Facebook and YouTube. They cut the first part of it off. It's when there was two men that left me at Lina Dempsey's, the Dempseys. The same two men came back a little later, a few months later, I guess, and I couldn't remember this until I found out about my kidnapping. Uh, and something else happened. I ran into a girl that was sitting across from me about that same time at an employment where I'd gone, and she had her finger. Evidently, something happened, and it was bandaged, and it started making me remember mine being chopped off. The same two men that brought me to Moulton, Alabama, helped kidnap me. Well, the Kennedys helped JFK, but anyway, I I remember the finger being cut off, but the two guys, they were men, they were on each side of me and just held me down and chopped it off. Now, whether it was a smell associated with that was on that tent, I don't know. But it was kind of odd because I just put up about my finger. I'd never put it up because it's been so bizarre that all this has been allowed to happen to me till people just look at you and walk away. And this one of the FBI men up in Grottoes, Virginia, when Larry Flint furnished me a car for a year, 84 or 85, and I couldn't get a job but pumping gas up there at Reineke's. And FBI, Noe was his last name, Noe, would come in. He had retired and he used to live in Huntsville. He knew my husband way back then, 1960. Anyway, he had retired up here. Ironic, isn't it? And he would come in the store and buy gas. And he said to me one day, he said, they, meaning the FBI, have made it so ludicrous. Everybody knows you're telling the truth. They have a chance to help you or walk away. Well, people couldn't wait to walk and run away from me. So I'm going to leave it at that, whether that was the same chemical used that they put on the tent that I paid for, and I went through hell out at North Creek. You do not know how people respond to it. You talk about hate crimes. There were chemicals used up there. And so bad the last two nights, I'm not going to go any further with it. You get the gist. It's been allowed to continue, and that's all I'm going to say now. I've put it up on YouTube. I was told to. I can't get an attorney, and I hope that I get to go home to my country and take back what's mine, and that there's nobody but God that could sit in on this one and hand out a verdict on it.